Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi enters the Karate Kid as a quiet, unassuming maintenance man from Okinawa, trimming bonsai trees and performing repairs around Daniel LaRusso's apartment complex. Beneath this humble exterior lies a master of martial arts who believes karate exists for defense, never aggression. His teaching style is transformative because it redefines learning as lived experience. Rather than beginning with sparring or drills, Miyagi assigns Daniel repetitive chores: waxing cars, sanding floors, painting fences. Each task develops muscle memory, so Daniel absorbs defensive blocks before realizing he is training. This method forces Daniel to confront his own impatience and discover that discipline is the foundation of true strength. The film's emotional core is not the climactic tournament victory, but the quiet scenes of Miyagi tending bonsai, healing Daniel's injuries, and telling the painful story of losing his wife and child while serving in the 442nd Infantry Regiment during World War II. These moments give Miyagi a depth that extends far beyond his role as a sensei, casting him as a surrogate father who restores balance to Daniel's chaotic life. Pat Morita's portrayal elevated the character into an icon despite his being typecast as a comedian before the role. Morita auditioned 5 separate times before winning over a skeptical producer who nearly rejected him entirely. He had no martial arts background, yet built Miyagi from the outside in, creating the character's distinct accent and slow, deliberate speech. This vocal choice, modeled partly after karate master Fumio Demura, gave Miyagi his signature calm authority. Morita's personal history, surviving childhood spinal tuberculosis and time in an internment camp, added haunting authenticity to the scene where Miyagi mourns his lost family. The collaboration between Morita and Demura made Miyagi a fusion of two artists. Morita provided the emotional soul, while Demura's stunt work delivered physical credibility. This synthesis of performance, philosophy, and personal truth is why Miyagi remains one of cinema's most beloved mentors. Dewey Finn. Dewey Finn is the polar opposite of the traditional cinematic teacher. He is a failed rock guitarist who stumbles into the classroom by accident. After being kicked out of his band and facing eviction, he impersonates his roommate Ned Schneebly to accept a substitute teaching job at an elite prep school. At first, Dewey is completely uninterested in teaching. His plan is simply to collect a paycheck. His turning point comes when he discovers that his 5th grade class is filled with skilled young musicians. Instead of continuing with the school's rigid curriculum, he transforms the classroom into a rock rehearsal space and assigns each student a role: guitarist, drummer, backup singer, roadie, or manager, with the shared mission of competing in the local battle of the bands. This radical approach to teaching replaces conventional lessons with a full immersion into music history, performance, and the ethos of sticking it to the man. Dewey's classroom becomes a place where shy students find confidence, misfits find purpose, and every child learns to channel frustration into creative energy. Jack Black's performance is the beating heart of School of Rock, and the role was written specifically for him by screenwriter Mike White. Black's real-life musical background with Tenacious D and his improvisational instincts shaped the film's best moments, many of which were unscripted. His manic physical comedy, Face, Plants, failed stage dives, wild guitar solos, was balanced by moments of genuine vulnerability that showed Dewey's evolution from selfish slacker to mentor. Director Richard Linklater insisted that the child actors be real musicians who performed their own music on screen, which gave every band rehearsal an unforced authenticity. Black even recorded a filmed plea directly to Led Zeppelin, begging for the rights to use Immigrant Song. The band granted permission, resulting in one of the movie's most exhilarating scenes. Dewey Finn remains iconic because he represents the fantasy of a teacher who does not enforce rules but liberates his students, proving that passion and connection can be as powerful as any formal education. Albus Dumbledore. Albus Dumbledore is the headmaster of Hogwarts and the guiding force behind Harry Potter's journey, embodying both the archetype of the wise mentor and the complexity of a man carrying deep regrets. His teaching style is indirect, often delivered through cryptic advice and carefully constructed tests meant to prepare Harry for the ultimate sacrifice required to defeat Voldemort. Dumbledore is defined by his past. The death of his sister Ariana and his youthful bond with Gellert Grindelwald shaped him into a man who seeks to balance power with moral responsibility. His mentorship is both compassionate and manipulative, blending encouragement with secrecy to mold Harry into the one person capable of ending the war. Iconic moments include his calm presence during crises, his defense of Harry at the Ministry, and his final duel with Voldemort at the Ministry of Magic, which remains one of the series' most visually stunning displays of magical power. 3 different actors brought Dumbledore to life, each reflecting the changing tone of the series. Richard Harris played Dumbledore in the first 2 films, giving him a soft-spoken warmth and mythic calm that perfectly matched the early, wonder-filled atmosphere. Harris initially refused the role until his 11-year-old granddaughter convinced him to take it, a choice that helped establish Dumbledore as a comforting grandfatherly presence. After Harris's passing, Michael Gambon took over and chose not to imitate Harris's interpretation. Instead, he played Dumbledore as more energetic, forceful, and at times volatile, which fit the series' darker turn as the stakes became life and death. This shift allowed moments like the cave sequence in Half-Blood Prince to carry an urgent emotional intensity. Jude Law's portrayal in the Fantastic Beasts films explores Dumbledore's earlier years, revealing a younger, charismatic but haunted man already burdened by guilt over Ariana's death and his bond with Grindelwald. Together, these portrayals form a complete picture. Harris embodies the mythic sage, Gambon the embattled general, and Law the man whose pain forged both. Rather than conflicting, these performances create a layered portrayal of Dumbledore that grows alongside Harry's understanding. Melvin B. Tolson. Melvin B. Tolson is portrayed as both an intellectual warrior and a man willing to risk everything to confront injustice. As a professor and debate coach at Wiley College in 1930s Texas, he trains his students with relentless intensity, teaching them that debate is not a polite academic exercise but a form of combat. Tolson's lessons take place not only in classrooms but also in unconventional settings, including lakes and fields, where he forces students to find their voices and deliver arguments with conviction. His core belief is that words are weapons and that mastering rhetoric is essential for fighting the systemic racism of the Jim Crow South. The film captures how his debate team rises from obscurity to challenge the top schools in the nation, culminating in a climactic victory over Harvard that symbolizes intellectual and moral triumph over entrenched prejudice. Denzel Washington brought Tolson to life while also directing the film, giving him control over the narrative's tone and message. His preparation included meticulous historical research and a commitment to showing an often overlooked side of African American history, the thriving black intellectual middle class, and its role in resistance. To ensure authenticity, Washington had the cast undergo debate camp with real coaches, requiring them to study and argue their cases as actual debaters. Washington's performance captured Tolson's duality, the demanding mentor who pushes students to excellence, and the secret activist who risks his life organizing sharecropper unions under constant threat of lynching. This dual life adds urgency and danger to every scene, showing that his fight for justice is not theoretical but deeply personal. The real Melvin B. Tolson was even more multifaceted than the film depicts. He was a celebrated modernist poet and later became Poet Laureate of Liberia, as well as a long-serving mayor of Langston, Oklahoma. Washington's choice to substitute Harvard for the real-life opponent, the University of Southern California, heightened the symbolic weight of the victory, reinforcing the David versus Goliath narrative for modern audiences. The result is a character who stands as both mentor and revolutionary, teaching his students, and the audience, that intellectual courage can be as powerful as any weapon in dismantling injustice. Jaime Escalante. Jaime Escalante arrives at Garfield High School in East Los Angeles to teach math to students who have been labeled as hopeless. From the first day, he confronts a culture of low expectations and refuses to accept mediocrity. His classroom becomes a battleground where he fights apathy with high standards, insisting that his students commit to early mornings, late afternoons, and weekend study sessions. Escalante believes that mathematics is the great equalizer, a tool that can lift his students out of poverty if they have ganas, the will to succeed. He makes abstract concepts tangible, using props like apples to explain fractions and playful tricks like his fingerman multiplication technique to keep students engaged. His message is clear: intelligence is not fixed, and with enough work, anyone can master calculus. Edward James Olmos underwent a complete physical and psychological transformation to play Escalante, gaining 40 pounds and thinning his hair to mirror the real teacher's appearance. He shadowed Escalante for weeks, living in his home, observing his routines, and memorizing his mannerisms. This immersive preparation allowed Olmos to deliver a performance that captured not only Escalante's speech and gestures but also his relentless drive. Escalante was present on set during filming, watching quietly from behind the camera, and offering approving gestures that reassured Olmos he was honoring the man's legacy. Many classroom scenes were drawn directly from Escalante's real teaching methods, giving the film an authenticity that resonated with audiences. The real events behind Stand and Deliver add even greater weight to the story. In 1982, 18 of Escalante's students passed the AP Calculus exam, an unprecedented achievement for a school like Garfield. When the testing agency accused them of cheating, their reputations were on the line. They retook the test under strict supervision and passed again, silencing the doubters. Escalante's program would later collapse after he left the school, proving that its success had depended almost entirely on his singular commitment. Olmos's performance earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor, the first for an American-born Latino, ensuring that Escalante's legacy as a transformational teacher would inspire generations. Mark Thackeray. Mark Thackeray is an engineer from British Guiana who accepts a teaching job at North Quay Secondary School in London's East End, after being unable to find work in his field. He inherits a class of unruly, disrespectful students who have driven previous teachers to quit. His early attempts to teach the standard curriculum are met with chaos and mockery, forcing him to reconsider his approach. In a pivotal moment, he abandons textbooks altogether and declares that from that day forward, he will treat the students as adults and expects them to behave as such. He insists on formal courtesy, with students addressing him as sir and each other with respect. His lessons become practical, focusing on job interviews, grooming, cooking, and conflict resolution, teaching the students how to live in the adult world. This radical shift slowly earns their trust and transforms them from hostile teenagers into mature young adults ready to face life beyond school. Sidney Poitier's connection to Thackeray was deeply personal. Like the character, Poitier had grown up in poverty, worked menial jobs, and struggled against racial prejudice while pursuing his education. This parallel life experience infused his performance with sincerity and moral authority. Poitier also took a major financial gamble by waiving a large salary in exchange for 10% of the film's gross, a decision that paid off when the movie became the highest-grossing film of his career. His presence elevated the film from a modest drama into a cultural milestone, showing a black teacher as a figure of dignity and intellectual authority at a time when that portrayal was rare in mainstream cinema. Released in 1967, during the Civil Rights Movement, the film inverted the white savior narrative by centering a black teacher who civilizes a class of mostly white students. Thackeray's story resonated globally and was supported by Lulu's title song, which became a #1 hit. Today, the character stands as one of cinema's most enduring portraits of mentorship, proving that respect and empathy can tame even the most rebellious classroom. Ed Rooney. Edward R. Rooney, the dean of students at Glenbrook North High, is less a teacher and more the embodiment of institutional authority. His entire purpose in the story is singular: to catch Ferris Bueller skipping school and end his string of clever deceptions. Rooney's view of education is rooted in control rather than inspiration. He sees students not as individuals to be nurtured but as potential offenders to be caught. His pursuit of Ferris escalates from standard disciplinary action to an obsessive personal vendetta. This obsession drives him into increasingly humiliating situations, being duped by Ferris's friends during the famous phone call prank, breaking into the Bueller home only to be attacked by the family dog, getting covered in mud, and finally being publicly disgraced when he is forced to ride home on the school bus with mocking students. Each failure heightens the comedy while reinforcing his role as the antagonist, who cannot outwit the free-spirited hero. Jeffrey Jones approached Rooney as a near-cartoon character, playing him with deadpan fury and exaggerated facial expressions that made his anger both threatening and funny. Critics likened his performance to Wile E. Coyote endlessly failing to catch the Roadrunner, each scheme backfiring in spectacular fashion. Jones's ability to remain self-serious while enduring physical comedy, falling, tripping, and being bitten, kept Rooney from becoming merely a villain and made him a perfect comedic foil. His performance gave the film a secondary plotline that balanced Ferris's day of carefree joy with slapstick tension. However, Rooney's legacy has been complicated by the real-life actions of the actor who portrayed him. Jeffrey Jones's arrest in 2002 for possession of illegal material involving a minor and his subsequent status as a registered sex offender has cast a dark shadow over how modern audiences view the character. What was originally pure comedic obsession can now feel uncomfortable given what is known about the actor's history. Even so, Rooney's place in film history remains secure because he serves a crucial narrative function. He is the rule-bound enforcer against whom Ferris's philosophy of freedom and joy is defined, making Ferris's triumph feel like a victory over lifeless authority itself. Miss Norbury. Miss Sharon Norbury is the calculus teacher at North Shore High and the film's most grounded moral anchor. Unlike larger-than-life mentor figures, she is presented as a flawed but relatable adult navigating her own challenges. Recently divorced and working a second job as a bartender to make ends meet, she is caught up in the chaos of high school life, just like her students. When she is falsely accused in the infamous Burn Book of dealing drugs, she faces the humiliation head-on, demonstrating resilience and humor. Her most significant contribution to the story is encouraging protagonist Katie Heron to embrace her math talent and join the mathletes, not merely as an academic exercise but as a path toward reclaiming her identity after being consumed by the toxic social hierarchy of the plastics. Tina Fey's dual role as both writer and performer gave Miss Norbury a unique narrative weight. Because Fey authored the screenplay, the character serves as her voice within the story, delivering some of the film's sharpest and most memorable lines. The gymnasium confrontation scene is the film's emotional centerpiece, where Miss Norbury stands before the female student body and calls out the culture of girl-on-girl crime, forcing the students to face the harm they inflict on each other. This scene reframes the entire conflict, shifting it from petty rivalries to a broader commentary on empathy, accountability, and female solidarity. Fey based Miss Norbury's name on one of her favorite high school teachers and drew on her own teenage experiences to craft many of the film's iconic moments, including the cutting compliments and social games that feel painfully authentic. This grounding in real life gives the character a credibility that resonates with audiences. Miss Norbury stands out among cinematic teachers precisely because she is not perfect. She is witty, tired, and at times exasperated, but she never stops pushing Katie toward growth. Her mentorship is a reminder that teachers can guide by example even while their own lives are messy. If you like this breakdown of the iconic teachers in these movies, you're gonna love the next video on the screen, so go check it out now.